The last time that Vishy Anand beat Magnus Carlsen in any format was in 2017. It was the World Rapid Championship and Anand had beaten Magnus. It's been 5 years nearly, and they've played several games. Magnus played against him in Norway Chess, in Tata Steel Chess India, and always Magnus has either won or drawn. And with Vishy, reaching the age of 52 and playing a little less chess overall, we thought that he would never be able to beat Magnus. Well, wait and watch. This was their game at the Norway Chess Blitz. It's an inaugural Blitz event that determines which players get an extra white in the main classical event. So those who finish in top 5 get an extra white. So Anand was playing against Magnus in the 7th round, and the game started 1e4 here. And Magnus responded with the modern defense g6, d4, d6, knight to c3, taking more, developing a piece, bishop g7. And now Vishy went for the kind of the most aggressive setup here, bishop e3. a6, this is known as Tiger's model. There is a player called Tiger Hillar Persson from Sweden who loves to play it and has played so many games with it. Idea is to expand on the queen side with b5. Now, there are two ways to play here. One is kind of the positional approach to play a4 and stifle b5. The other is what Vishy did, h4. He's just going all out. h5 is actually a threat. So Magnus went knight to f6. Now went f3. You want to play g4 next, then h5. So Carlsen went b5 first, queen d2, and h5 came in. Now h5 not only stops g4, but also another idea was bishop h6 to trade this bishop, and now that is also stopped. So knight to h3 by Anand. Perhaps a better move was long castle, because after, let's say, black does anything like bishop b7 or knight d7, then knight h3 can be played and the knight cannot be picked up by the bishop. And it would have been better. The moment he went knight h3, Magnus decides to chop it off, because the knight sits very well on g5 in such positions. So he took rook takes, knight bd7, long castles. And now you want to play c5, but c5 has its problems. Like, just for an example, if you play c5, I take, you can, taking with the pawn is better, but let's say you take with the knight. White to play, what's the best move? e5, and white is clearly better. Queen c8 was played in the position, trying to go for c5. Anand tucked his king to the corner, c5. And here Vishy could have gone a little aggressive with e5. It was possible, but he played takes, knight takes. And now once again was a moment to think a bit what to do, but it's blitz, you don't have much time. Look at this move, e5. And my question to you is, after pawn takes, why did he give up the pawn, white to play? It's a very excellent idea which you should keep in mind. So the move here is g4. And takes, you will realize that because e5 had been played and the pawn shifted here, if the queen takes, then bishop takes c5 and you win the piece. And if knight takes, then what do? Try to think, it's winning. Still bishop c5, queen c5, queen d7, king f8, and mate. So these tactics are possible with e5 and g4 because the black king is still in the center. But okay, knight e2 was played and this was not the most accurate move. Magnus now played castles. He thought that, now white is slow enough with this move and black has made enough progress in order to castle shot and not be afraid of being run over by white's attack. Bishop h6, and now Magnus makes a big mistake with a5. So it's your move. What should Anand have done? Even Vishy missed it, but Let's see if you can find it. So Anand went ahead and took the bishop, which is very natural. But a much better move would have been knight d4. Kudos if you found it, because now you are attacking the b5 pawn. And if Magnus defends it, now what's the move for white? It's a typical Sicilian dragon kind of a sacrifice here. Knight f5. So you take, and now very important move, rook g3. Very important to note, queen g5 doesn't work because of knight e6, not only defending the bishop but also hitting the queen. So rook g3, knight to e6, and now after e takes f5, white is winning. Bishop takes g7, king takes g7. Now knight d4 was, if now knight d4, b4, now knight f5 doesn't work because takes, queen g5, king h7. Black is very much safe. So rook g3, b4, knight d4. And now Magnus spotted a small little tactic here. Can you try and find it? It's maybe not winning or something, but it gives black good chances. So take, queen e3. And so he got a rook and 2 pawns for 2 knights. This would be favoring white here if these 2 pieces would get some stable squares. But as you can see, there look no outposts where these pawns cannot kick these pieces off. And that's the reason why this position is quite easy to play for black. It must be objectively around equal, but very easy to play as black because black's moves are flowing. So Magnus came queen g4. Your move now. What would you play here as white? If you decided to exchange, that was a wrong decision because after hg4, it's very easy for black to play here. With 2 pieces on the board, it is important to keep the queen. And your rook on d1 is hanging, and so the move is queen e1, defending the rook and also attacking, just looking at that pawn. Rook c8, good move. g3 played. Rook c5, excellent move. This phase of the game was beautifully played by Magnus. Another good move by him, queen e4, queen d2, and now excellent move, rook e5. Bishop f3, queen e3, queen g2. And now Magnus should have played rook c8, getting his other rook into the game. And I think Anand would have had difficulties in defending this. The main point here is that after knight c6, rook c5, rook d3, check, rook d1, queen e6, the game goes on, like black is clearly better. But in the game after a4, which was a mistake by Magnus, Vishy played knight to c6. And his point is that if you now play rook c5 and you do this same thing, then I will just win this pawn on b4. So that pawn is hanging. So a4, Magnus went rook f5, attacking the bishop here on f3. Anand went rook d3. He was okay with the draw, but Magnus wants to fight on. But now take, rook e5, knight comes here, check, and a good move, bishop d1. Rook e8, and here queen f3, and the game is tremendously complicated, I would say. Both sides have their chances, but Anand blundered with queen d2, and this is an important moment. What do you play here as white? As black to play. Yeah, the move is very, very nice, and it is queen to g1. And the point is you want to take on d1, queen d1, and rook e1, and you will lose the queen. So the only defense that I could think of is queen c1. But then you have enough time to play rook f1 and the other rook comes in and there is no way to defend this. So if you play king c1, then still I take and rook e1 wins. Queen d2, a3 was played. And now this was a3 was a mistake, queen b4. And all of a sudden, I think here Magnus could have still fought on for an advantage after knight v4 and rook 8 e3. You can't take the rook. Rook takes d1 is a mate. But his move, rook 8 e4, was a bad move, and after take here, it seems like white is the one in driver's seat. c4, rook d2, rook g1, knight c3, rook e6, a4, knight v5, and white is just suddenly this pawn is way dangerous than the black pawns. Here, rook a6 had to be played, and after king b2 takes c3, well, the game is still, white is slightly better. The c4 pawn will fall, and then there will be these two passers. But instead, Magnus went rook e4, and now after c3, rook h4, a5, rook h1. He resigned because after a6, the a pawn is simply unstoppable. Let's say just a variation here could be rook g5. No, there is a7 already, right? Sorry, rook g5, knight is hanging, so a4, rook c5, a7, rook c8, king b2. Next up, bishop f3, and you can queen. So Vishy beat Magnus after a gap of 5 years. The last time, as we said, he won at the World Rapid Championship. And even at this age of 52, Anand is showing that he is not one who can be taken lightly. He finished second, joined second at the Superbet Rapid and Blitz. He now finished, these are the standings of the Blitz tournament here. He also finished, joined third here. At the top of the Blitz tournament was Wesley So, then Magnus Carlsen, then Anish Giri, and Vishy Anand. He gets an extra white in the classical tournament, and the classical event starts from today, and we are looking forward to some great games. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.